going on? Welcome to the 3BeerPod. It is season 4, episode 4. It is Chris and Tim. What's going on, Timmer?
That's a good one, Cloudy. That makes me feel good on this snowy Tuesday today. I love that. How's it going today, bud?
She's rolling. She is what she is. I hate January. And I will tell you something about January here in a couple minutes. But I think I hate February more.
What?
March. I want it to be at least April, May. Like, let's just fast as possible.
That's a tough fast forward right now, buddy.
Yeah.
That's a tough fast forward here. I think we're gonna have to slug this one out.
Well, Timmer, let's get to it here. Let's get rolling here tonight and get right into it. Our guest, Sean Brown's going to join us in a couple minutes, former NHL first-round pick. But let's start with our sponsors that make this possible each and every week and support us as we go. To pat myself on the back, that's a real big inflated start to a sponsor. Thank you. Let's start.
Look at this guy, Chris McLeod. I don't know if you're looking to buy or sell right now, but if you are, Chris McLeod's your man. The guy was taking a phone call up till the 30 seconds before the show went live to air, crushing deals here. If you're looking for a triplex, I think it's sold. But I bet you he's got something else coming up. If you're looking to buy or sell, give Chris a call over at Realty House.
There you go. Another house that we'd like to thank is the Health House at the Health House CK. Look them up. There you go. Keeping you healthy. Give Shauna a call and check in with Shauna at thehealthhouseck.ca. Big thanks to our sponsors for tonight's episode is our friends over at Sons of Kent, sonsofkent.com. And here, Timmer, look at what I had for dinner tonight.
No!
Yes.
Was that a Reuben, buddy?
It was. Crushed a Reuben tonight. Oh,
so good.
It has been since March 12th, where you and I had a Reuben when we were sitting there, 2020, since I've enjoyed one, and I've held out this far because I didn't feel like I want to have one when I'm back, but again.
I had one a couple of weeks ago, and man, did it feel good. Man, did it feel good having a Reuben. If you haven't had the Reuben at Sons of Kent, you're missing out. Call up Skip the Dishes in the local area here and get yourself a Reuben.
And don't forget our sponsors, thanks to the Pakistan Super League.
Oh, man, they are having some intense transactions here in the offseason. I'm not sure if you've been following it, Cloudy, but check it out, man. Have I? How can you not?
Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to tell us what they were.
No, cliffhanger. That's episode 5.
Okay.
Cliffhanger.
Right. Let's get to what you're drinking, bud. And Tim, if you don't mind, let me start, if you don't mind, okay?
Hey, I'll hold off here, buddy. You got big news here, don't you?
I do. I feel like I've been lying to the Potters for a month. I didn't have a drink since December 31st of 2020. I have been dry all of January. Nobody's questioned the fact that I haven't drank any of the beers that I presented during the What You Drinking, Bud segment. I show them, and then I never drink them. I think it's become a thing that they just expect that I'm not going to finish my 3 beers. So, whatever. So I apologize. I was halfway through the month, and I'm like, you know what? I'm moving along. Now, the last few weekends have been tough, but I'm going to start tonight.
I would like to congratulate you. Oh, the last time you had a flamingo vision on the podcast, it went really well. So I condone you jumping in here to not dry February. And congratulations on making it through January. I think that's a feat. I did not try at all.
So I'm back with
baby.
a personal dry January. I support anyone who does it. I know there's a Canadian Cancer Society fundraiser for dry February. Good on ya. Go do it. I'm back on the wagon. Am I on the wagon? Am I off the wagon?
I think you're both. I think it's both, actually. I've never really understood how that worked out. Yeah, congratulations to anyone that made it through January. I hope you're enjoying the drink as much as Cloudy is right here. It's going to hit them, and then it's going to be me left on the screen again, like we've had a couple of times. Just me staring at the screen when the flamingo vision. That's an interesting choice to kick it off with.
You know what?
So good.
I've had some of these, and I picked some up mid-January again. So I thought I'm going to chug one first. So I'm going to get onto that. Thanks to Suns for being our sponsors tonight. So I'm drinking all Suns. So Flamingo first, the Backbeat, which we did talk about here a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to dig into this here tonight. And if we get it here, Tim, I'll do 2, you do 2, and then we'll team up for the last one.
All right, sure, buddy. I don't think I'm doing much different. Although I am cracking open a classic here with 8-track. You can't beat an 8-track, to be honest with you. And then I also have the Backbeat. I'm not gonna lie, the Backbeat is a remake, and like this is the second time they've made it. I think this is better than the first time. I've had a few of these in the last week. Delicious. Well done on the Backbeat redo. Big fan. I'm gonna crack that one right now, buddy.
All right, get into it, and let's introduce you to the third beer tonight, which we both have. It's a new beer that is coming from our friends over at Sons of Kent. Will be released later on this week. Of course, Sons of Kent, sonsofkent.com. Let's introduce you to that beer. Here, let me pull this up here, Timmer. I got it for you.
Right here, buddy. Oh, you got show the label. It looks way cooler on your picture.
All right, here's what we're showing off here tonight. What you drinking, bud? We got ourselves the Chatham All-Stars. Oh, I got it right there. There it is, the Rye Pale Ale. It's going to be released on Thursday at Sons of Kent. Tim, you give the background of the beer, and then I'll give the background on the story behind it, okay?
Yeah, so it's a Rye Pale Ale coming in at 5.3, so nice, smooth drinking 5.3, 30 IBUs. Subtle rye malted rye flavor, and a nice little spicy note at the end. I'm interested in trying this one, but I just cracked that back meat because I jumped the gun. So I'm interested to try that, released on Thursday. So it says it's easy drinking and crisp finish. Not going to lie, I did get a sneak peek at another beer coming up from our friends at Sons of Kent tonight, and delicious. God, those guys know what they're doing over there at Sons of Kent. Can you give us the background on the All-Stars, Cloudy?
All right, so the background of the All-Stars, here's a book right here. It's written by a local guy, a Chatham guy, Brock Green Hall, and I hope I get that right, Brock, but Brock wrote this book right here, Hard Road to Victory, the Chatham All-Stars story, and the story about the 1934 Chatham Black All-Stars, who were the provincial champions in the midst of racism and bigotry, and they beat all odds. So Fergie Jenkins' dad, who, Tim, we had on the pod a couple weeks back, his father Hershey was on this team. They're in the Chatham the Chatham Sports Hall of Fame. There is such a cool story to them. Remember the Blue Jays a couple years ago honored them at the Sky Dome during a game? This book is available, so there's a limited number of copies that you can pick up when you purchase a beer coming up on Thursday that you can get, and that's signed. There's just a limited number at Sons of Kent. What a cool story, and I don't think enough local people know this story about the Chatham All-Stars and their 1934 provincial win. So very, very cool story and very cool beer to go along with it. So
that was really cool. Blue Jays honored them. I went to that game in Toronto, which I don't very often, but it was pretty awesome. Took a bus trip down to Blue Jays game and saw them being honored. Pretty cool experience. Pretty rich Chatham Kent history here, being honored here with the book and the beer. What a great combination. Have yourself a beer, read a book.
Book and a beer. All right, Timmer, our beer buzz tonight. So that's a new release coming from our friends at Sons of Kent. That's a great little beer buzz piece for you here too. Wanted to mention this story here that came out this week. Alcohol and COVID. According to a doctor in Toronto, drinking alcohol will not affect the COVID vaccine, according to a doctor. So I thought I was hoping it would be equal to
taking the COVID vaccine, because then I would feel much better about what's happened in the last year. But I am very excited that I will be able to have the vaccine and have a beer. I'll probably wait. I'm going to wait until it kicks in.
I don't think you do it at that same time, though. Unless they use Sons of Kent as a vaccination destination.
Wow. What an interesting concept. 6-pack and a COVID shot.
Reach out to me. I've got more ideas.
It should be on the Sons of Kent marketing team. Let's talk together.
Hey, did you see this story about Sesame Street and how there's an upcoming documentary from Sesame Street? And in the documentary, it says that Sesame Street was inspired by beer commercials. There was a producer that says they noticed how kids were focused on the beer, were singing the beer commercial jingles, the jingles to the beers. And they were singing along to whatever it was way back in the day, right? They were humming along. And the producer said, hey, you know what? We can influence children with TV. So they came up with Sesame Street.
I think that producer made a good decision on going with influencing children with TV and not, hey, aren't you going to influence children with beer? That would not have been as popular of a segment on TV.
I think the Count was into beers.
100%. 100%.
We should have the Count on the pod. 1, 2.
Dude, when we are back in business and able to have some beers together,
Yep.
I'll drink with anybody. I'll drink with
That's a threat. That's what that is.
I'm gonna need the Count with me the next time I can go to Sons of Kent and have some beers like we did on that last day before the pandemic to shut everything down.
That's fine.
I will need the Count to jump in with us 100%.
Timber, we got the Noofus Doofus coming up a little bit later on in the show, and we've got some more additions into our Weird Name Hall of Fame, some nominees, and you'll have to help us decide on who is the next class of the Weird Name Hall of Fame. But our guest is ready to join us, former first rounder in the NHL, Sean Brown, who played for the Edmonton.
And Brown fires it in. You could almost see that one coming. Sean Brown shoots. He scores! Here's Sean Brown. He shoots. He scores!
That's pretty cool. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podcast from Alberta. Am I right with that? It is Sean Brown. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Really good, buddy.
Doing well. Good to see you.
Lots of beer drinking there.
Well, it's a beer pod. Are you drinking with us tonight?
Well, I wasn't really planning on it, but I had to actually I ran down to the fridge there and grabbed the only thing I had in there was a kokanee. So I guess I have to have one with you at least.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I like it.
At least. Sean, we've had some big names on the broadcast. We've had guys like Ron McLean, Fergie Jenkins in recent weeks. I've gotten more texts in the last few days about Sean Brown being on. Not that we are not doubting your level in the world of podcasting, but like people are really excited to hear from you here. So we're glad to have you.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm excited. Hopefully I don't disappoint.
No pressure. No pressure whatsoever. Sean, you were a former first rounder in the NHL. But I want to back up to your OHL days. You played in Belleville and in Sarnia, but you started off in Belleville. And that team, when I asked a couple of people that played hockey, I said, what do you know about that Belleville team? And they said they had fun. They could really run. And they wasn't talking about what was happening on the ice. He said, you guys knew how to have a good time. Is that the true story?
I would say, I mean, we were young. We had a really good group of guys, and we had a good team, which, you know, obviously when you're playing a competitive sport, if you have a good team, you definitely, you know, allows your leashes a little longer to have some fun off the ice. And we had, unfortunately, a legend of a coach that passed away. But he was also a guy that was probably having more fun than what we were having. So the combination of that, you know, when I look back at my junior career, you know, you think, you know, you're young, you know, 15 years old getting into the league and you think it's going to last forever. And it flew by, and it definitely flies by when you're having fun. But I do remember my last year thinking, holy jumping, like if you don't go on to pro, wow, like this, it goes by in a blur. But I had so many great experiences there.
Well, the coach was Larry Mavety, and I went to school at Loyalist College in Belleville, and I kind of watched the OHL a little bit. So one of my first ever OHL games was going down the Yardman Arena and seeing the Belleville Bulls, and all the talk was about this defenseman, Sean Brown. And it's kind of crazy that we've got you on here. I remember interviewing you. You probably were one of my first interviews post-practice, and we're about the same age. But I was shitting bricks. I was like, oh my God, what do I got to ask him? So I think I probably just held the microphone out and said, sorry, I got a game versus Oshawa, and left it at that. So it's neat that we've connected. The Larry Mavety story, I remember a buddy, we're driving around Belleville at the time, and tell me if this is true or not. Larry Mavety used to ride his bike to the game. Is that he used to ride his bike around town? Or am I hearing that wrong?
I don't know if he rode his bike. I could see maybe a little bit of truth to that. Maybe he didn't want to maybe drink and drive. Mav was probably known for having, you know, a few beers. He was, like I said, he was as old school as you get. You know, I remember sitting on the bus, you know, and we'd be traveling, to the game, and especially, obviously after the game, he liked to have a couple. And Chris Rutledge was one of the trainers, which was, he was just a fabulous guy. And I sat probably maybe about 2 or 3 seats behind him, and all you could hear was the sound of those beers just cracking. So, I don't know if that's, I never seen him ride a bike, but that could be true.
Hey, it might have been one of those tales that you hear from the cities. One of the guys you played with back in the day was Brian Secord, who's from this area, from the Ridgetown area. What was it like with Secord back in the day?
You know what? He was a good hockey player. He was talented. He played with a lot of emotion. He had a really good skill set, and we used to call him Siki, but he was awesome. He was one of the guys that was leading the charge as far as, making sure we play hard and party hard. And he could definitely, there's some guys that, that play and try to live maybe that lifestyle, and it kind of catches up to them at times. But he was one guy that could do both and actually perform. But he was a great guy. We were actually able to cross paths again after junior, when I was playing in the American League for the Hamilton Bulldogs. I don't know quite where he went. I think he might have went in the East Coast. I can't remember exactly his path, but we wind up crossing paths again in the minors. They brought him in for a little bit, and it's always good when you have that connection and that relationship, and that's just how small the hockey world is too, right?
Tim, don't mind me. I geek out on this hockey stuff, so
it's all good, Cloudy. I have had the pleasure of crossing paths with Sean Brown in the Buxton homecoming. Sean joined the Robins team recently, and I said, "Hey, what's the big deal with this guy?" He played in the NHL. Yeah, everyone that's listened to the pod has heard my well-documented baseball career, but then seeing the natural athlete that Sean was when he joined the team, I was like, okay, I'll take the bench. Sean, was hockey always the number one for you, or were you a multi-sport guy?
Well, we were a multi-sport family. It's obviously a little harder to do that now. I have he's 16 now. So I think with the demands of all sports, it's hard to be that kid. But yeah, I played baseball and played hockey in the winter, and when those 2 seasons were done, it was, put it away and be that kid. And I love baseball. There was a point, I think it was kind of around Pee-wee, my second year Pee-wee, I think that we had to kind of make that decision because you had to start to do a little bit more off-ice training was kind of the next component that had to take priority. But at the end of the day, I don't think my parents obviously put me in a sport because they thought I was gonna make it. It just kind of worked out that way. But I love baseball. But it did get to the point, to be honest with you, I was actually scared of the ball. And so I remember my coaches, talking to me about, bailing out, because instead of stepping towards the pitcher, I'd kind of step away, and they were always on me. And I was just like, man, I'm scared of the ball. Like, it is what it is, so it wasn't that easy to make that transition and kind of start to focus more on hockey. And I don't know if it was a combination of, how I got scared of it. I know you're familiar with Jason Dudley, and he might even be actually listening, but he might have contributed to this, because I remember we spent a lot of time down in Buxton, and Jason was a pitcher and could throw the ball hard. And I think it might have been a little bit of my punishment of waking him up so early in the morning in the summer that he would come out and just sizzle balls at me. And I remember he threw the ball so hard it broke the meshing and actually smacked me in the face. So maybe Jason had something to do with it.
That's going to scratch off my next question, because I had talked to him about half an hour ago. So you got to ask him about this. Don't tell him who told the story, and see if, and you get points for that. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. That's really cool. And that's the connection. So a bunch of people were asking us, like, I didn't know he was connected. So your grandfather, Bub Brown, is that right?
Yeah.
Lived in Buxton, and just about every summer you'd spend down this way.
Yeah. So that was our vacation, was either going to my dad's side and seeing my grandpa, ending time in Buxton, or going to my mom's side and going to Peterborough, where we had a family cottage up on Buckhorn Lake. So, I mean, we loved, we still laugh. My parents moved back there, actually. So my parents are living in my grandpa's house. And it was always kind of a goal of my dad, was to always kind of get back to Buxton. And Buxton's a unique place, right? It's such a small community with great people. And so, you know, I have so many memories, and one of them was just, you know, coming from, I guess, the big city of Oshawa, and you come to Buxton. I remember, I don't even know what's the main street of the Buxton there. It's the main
Everybody.
I don't know what it's called. Sorry?
Adam.
Yeah. So, but when you would pull down there, everyone knew everyone. So
Yeah.
it was just, I remember driving down there and everybody waved. Like, you waved to everybody, and it was like everyone knew everyone. Everyone knew when we were in town, you know, and it's such a unique place. And hockey kind of got me away from it for a while there, just because I was so busy with, you know, following my dreams. But, you know, it's now I've had a chance to get back because life's kind of slowed down, and bringing my kids back there, it's a pretty special place.
Well, let's go through your hockey career a little bit. So you were drafted in the first round by the Boston Bruins. You never played with Boston that time around. Traded to Edmonton for the goalie, Bill Ranford, which legendary name. Yeah. So you get to Edmonton, and that's where you break into the NHL. And you're playing with guys like Ryan Smith and Bill Guerin, and Tommy Salo was the goalie back in those days. What was it like breaking in Edmonton, and one of the hottest hockey markets in Canada, but the NHL overall?
Well, it's to play in Canada is pretty special, just because, you know, the passion and enthusiasm us Canadians have for the game. So, you know, when I was drafted by Boston, obviously I was excited, but I didn't have a connection there. And when I got traded, I just, you know, you're just a young kid hoping to get an opportunity. So, you know, so when I went to Edmonton, it was my second training camp. So it was a little different. I felt a little different actually going into it, because when I went to Boston, I think I was so naive and in awe of these players that I grew up watching, Cam Neely, Ray Bourque. Oh, wow. I was so in awe of it. It was, I didn't know what to expect. And it was just, you just played, and I had a great camp and had a great experience. But when I went back to junior, and then the next year when I went to Edmonton, it was like, whoa, you know what? Now, like, you got to make a mark. Like, I gotta do something here. And so I looked at it a little bit different. And I think I almost got in my head in some ways. And I actually didn't have a very good camp. I was, you know, a pretty high pick, you know, getting traded with Bill Ranford. They obviously had some plans for me. So I didn't have a good camp. And I thought I came in the training camp in shape, but there was another level for me to learn. As far as professionalism and the preparation. And so I actually got George Larocque was another high pick. We actually got sent back really early for two guys that were high picks. But you know, when I was fortunate enough to actually make it, like I said, I couldn't be more thankful to play in that. I'm still here, obviously, for a reason.
Just to answer a question or comments, the answer is yes. I have cracked a second one, so we're up to the All-Stars. and it's the 8A Shad. AD Shad is the road.
I'm taking some heat over that one via text from the family on that one.
I should know. We should know that. I should know that.
No, I'm taking heat for it, for not knowing my Raleigh geography here. It's all good. It's all good.
That's funny. I want to know so you played about 3 seasons, and in your 4th season, you finally scored your first NHL goal. Now you weren't a goal scorer, but man, who was your first goal against? Who you scored against, and how did you score it?
Actually, it's funny that you say that, bring that up, because I was doing a little skit with Sportsnet where I was doing the color commentating, and they brought that actual footage and video up. So
nice.
It was against Montreal and against Jeff Hackett.
Yep.
Hackett. He actually might even live in London.
London area, yeah.
Yeah. So it was off a face-off. They won. I forget who took the draw, but they won the face-off, and puck came back to the point, and I think I toe dragged around that guy, faked the next guy out, went top cheese.
Wow.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm only.
Let's go to the footage. Let's see the footage.
Man, that's too bad. You can't lie anymore because no. It was pretty simple. It was just a face-off that was won back at the point, and I took a slap shot, and somehow it found its way in there. So, pretty special, obviously, to get a goal in the NHL, and obviously still have the puck and somewhere down in the bar area in our basement there.
That's awesome. And I always wonder, so I see a lot of OHL games, and you see these kids come in 16 years old, they score their first goal, and they can't hide their excitement. I think that's the coolest part. They've got this grin, they can't wipe it off. You get to the NHL, you got to play it cool though, right? Like you can't score your first goal and sit on the bench with all cheesing up, right? Like what's your reaction? Did the guys give you any shit for that?
You know what? In the time then of what I played, you had to be careful, to be honest with you. I mean, you have all this emotion, you're excited, but the time that I played was if you showed too much emotion and you see guys going down and they're grabbing a little bit of ice and they're pulling the stick, you did that and brought that attention. Well, somebody else was coming off the bench and, going to have a little chat with you. So, it's kind of nice, to be honest with you, that the game, has changed. There's still that physical component that I myself like to see, that I would like to see a little bit more of that get back in the game. But it's nice to see that guys are able to express themselves more, show more personality, because that's what the game needs to grow. I mean, I'm not even an NFL fan. I've become somewhat of a fringe NFL fan because my son has taken a liking to it, but you can't help like the NFL. Partly just the way they expose and promote their players and the personalities that come along with it. So, now you got PK Subban. Probably George Laraque was definitely the first guy that I played with, and it was new to us, the way he was marketing himself and the things that he was doing. Not that it didn't sit well, but it was. Guys weren't overly comfortable with it, because he was kind of one of the first guys to kind of brand himself. So, I mean, you watch now and some of the moves that guys even make on breakaways. If you tried that when I played, would have been, you were looking for trouble in some ways. And the game at that time was hard enough to play, never mind to bring some unwanted attention to yourself.
Sean, I could sit here and geek out about hockey the whole time. It's not a specific hockey podcast, so we don't have to do that. But I'm going to drop some names from your NHL career and just tell us your time spent with them or any stories you have. So you go from Edmonton, you go back to Boston. Joe Thornton, who's still playing today. Well, he's injured, but is still in the league. What was Joe like at that age back in that day?
He was incredible. He's another guy from not Ridgetown, but St. Thomas.
St. Thomas. Yeah. Jumbo.
You know what? So I played against Joe my last year. He was in Sault Ste. Marie, and something happened on the ice, and I didn't know much about him. And you don't have time to pick and choose anyway who you're going to fight. You do it based on what's actually going on. And so anyway, he did something or I did something, and we wind up fighting, and it would have been his first year, so he would have been young. And I remember he punched me in the side of the face, and it hurt. And I was like, Jesus, like, who is this guy? And he, and so I remember him from that. And and then I had the opportunity to play with him in Boston there, and he was incredible. Like, it's amazing, as to be able to watch some of these guys, because there's, to get to the NHL, you got to be good. Right. But then there's just another level of good. And that's, Crosby, Thornton, and McDavid. And we'd be sitting on the bench, and when we needed a goal or we needed something, and that was the time they had the one year it was Samsonov and what's his name? Glenn Murray and Joe Thornton. The next year it was they put Knuble there. And their ability to score big goals at big times was, you'd be sitting on the bench, and it was just the way they handled the puck, the chemistry they had, the hockey sense, the IQ. I remember because Joe was such a good passer and Glenn Murray was such a good shooter, he needed about this much space, and he had a knack of looking covered. And then within a half a second, he would find a little space and Joe would hit him and the puck would be in the back of the net. And I'd be on the bench, and I was amazed just watching him on the bench. I had the best seat in the house to watch those guys. So, and the other thing is Joe, the thing about Joe too, is what you still see it today. He's always got a smile on his face, right? There's no one that loved the game and loved being around the game than that guy. And I talk about, I use him as an example because I do some development stuff with kids out in the Edmonton area here and with my son. And Joe's ability, what separated him from everyone else that I played with, and I found that the superstars had this inner confidence, this swagger about him, is that if Joe gave up the puck in the middle of the ice and it was his fault, you would never know, because Joe showed no emotion, no negative emotion. He was like a duck on the water, right? Just smooth, calm, but his feet were probably, going a million miles an hour. So he had this swagger about him that obviously that's what kept him and keeping him in the NHL and has made him so successful.
It's an interesting way to look at it, for sure. So you signed with New Jersey, go to the Devils. Martin Brodeur is the goaltender at the time, going to the Hall of Fame. He made a defenseman's life a whole lot easier, the way he could move the puck.
Oh my God. It was not only the way he could move the puck. I mean, he obviously handled the puck probably. I just got to grab a cord here so I can just take my phone with me.
Yeah, let's go for a walk.
It's all good.
So his ability to handle the puck and make plays. I mean, half the time I'm sure he didn't want me handling the puck because he knew he could handle it. He knew he could handle it better. But what was best about him was, especially in today's game, it's all about getting in shooting lanes and blocking shots. The best thing about him is when I got there, it was always stick on puck and shooting lanes. And when I got there, he's like, Sean, this is the one rule I have with our D-man. Get out of the way. Don't if I can see it, I will stop it. But if you're in the way, then it has a chance. And that was just music because to block shots, to eat pucks is not a very sexy thing to do. So I was like, sweet. Awesome.
Don't tell me twice. Get the hell out of the way. I love that.
Good me. I'm in.
I'm out of the way. So it was, he was amazing. Obviously, his skill set, and the funny thing too is in practice. Obviously, guys to get to that level are ultra competitive, but he even brought that to a new level as far as if you scored on him in practice. If you didn't score on him, he would chirp you. So that was always kind of fun to be able to, you got to be able to have some fun and, banter amongst the guys. But the thing is when you scored on him in practice, he looked for you in line for the next time you were going, so that, and very rarely did you score twice on him in a row. That's how dialed in that guy was.
That's hilarious. And then you go on to Vancouver and you play with the Sedin twins. And their beginning in the NHL was a little rough, but once they got it figured out, nobody knew each other better than Henrik and Daniel in Vancouver.
Yeah. I was only there a short time, but yeah, I mean, they just the chemistry that those guys had and the playmaking, they were unique in their own ability to understand each other. And it's got to be, it's got to be hard to play with him or to play with Connor McDavid, these elite players. Like, people don't, it's, to get on their level, and then to also make sure that, you're not defaulting and just going to them all the time. You got to be able to play your game and have that inner confidence too. But those guys, their ability, what I found with those guys was how humble they were and how just down to earth they were. You never got a sense that they were above you in any way. And they treated everyone the same. But yeah, they were, their ability to play with each other. And it was almost like basketball. What I found that they did well is they picked for each other really well, because they knew if they cycled the puck, most guys cycle it back and then kind of go towards the net. Well, they would cycle it and almost go back to where the puck was and put a pick on the other guy that was covering their brother.
Okay.
So now you got the guy that's covering you, and then you got the guy that's, trying to defend your brother. Now you're putting them in a tough situation if they don't make that read. And I found that they created a lot of time and space by doing that.
Former NHL first rounder Sean Brown is with us on the podcast. Sean, we can't talk about your NHL career without talking about the fights you got into. And there's some, like, we're trying to look through hockeyfights.com and figure out which one we're going to talk about. I have this one here. We can play it, and then you can talk about what it's like knowing you have to go on the ice and you got to fight a guy. This is you versus Donald Brashear when you were with the New Jersey Devils. Brashear hits this guy, and then your job. You got to come over, and here you go.
Yeah.
And chuck some knucks.
God, I haven't seen that in a while. It still gives me knots in my stomach. You know what? I remember that because he hit Sergei Brylin, and you know what? Brashear, obviously, he's a big, strong guy. So you can see here, he kind of gives me the death rattle here because he would get a couple, put his hands around you and just give you the death shake and rattle your bones. Will get you off balance and then give you a couple noogies, and it was over, as you can see. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You gotta, everyone's got to kind of find their way, and you're kind of like a spoke in the wheel in today's game, or even at that time, it's got, you got your guys that make plays, and the guys that, get assists, and the guys that get pucks, and the guys that, do some grunt work, maybe have to fight and be physical or bring energy. So, to play in the NHL, you have to have a dimension to your game. And then, hopefully you can kind of build around that, which will give you some longevity. But a lot of, I have a son, like I said, that's 16, that I wouldn't want him to play that way. It's not an easy way to make a dollar. There was a lot of sleepless afternoons with, anticipation of what, might happen. You had to be careful that sometimes you didn't build it up to be more than what it was. You had to be, prepared. You had to be respectful. You also had to make sure you didn't take away from yourself too. I think you guys, most people are aware of hockey. What is that? Hockeyfights.com there, which was always kind of a tool to kind of be able to watch guys and see what maybe they did well, maybe what they didn't do so well, maybe, is he a lefty, is he a righty? Sometimes that would bring your anxiety down a little bit, but I guess, I've kind of had that role a little bit in junior. So you learn.
I think we've lost him. You still there, Sean?
Yep. Are you
there? There. Jason Dudley, go ahead. Sorry, finish up your thought there.
You learn to deal with that anxiety and that emotion and try to control it and not let it control you. But like I said, it becomes a job, and if you're not going to do it, somebody else will do it. But I definitely remember, at the time, I don't even think they have roommates now. I think you have the ability to have your own roommate.
Yeah.
But, there was times that you'd be sleeping and your roommate, depending on his role, would be out cold in the afternoon, having a beautiful nap. And here I am wrestling alligators, thinking about what's going to be coming down the pipe.
Wow.
Well, Jason Dudley wanted me to ask you about a fight with Wade Belak, the late Wade Belak, who was a tough son of a gun. He said to bring it up. You might not want to talk about it, though. So I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If it's the one I'm thinking about, that was in Boston. And so there was a little bit of a scrum. I think I got in a fight the night before, and I can't remember if it was my nose or my cheek that was sore. And there was a scrum with Travis Green, and I not that I wanted to go through the motions, but I was wasn't overly eager or interested. And but you don't have a choice, obviously, when you're playing. And Belak came in, and I remember just being like, frick, my face is sore. I'm not really into this. And so I think I was pretty much looking for some banana peels to kind of slip on. And so I went down, but the linesman, for whatever reason, didn't get in. And I remember Belak actually picking me up and I was 210 pounds, and he was picking me up, and I was like, well, this isn't going to be good. The guy's lifting me off the ice. Yeah, he was a tough, unfortunately, he's passed away, but man, he was a tough guy.
Timber, buddy, what do you got?
Oh, I thought you locked up on me again there, Cloudy. Sean, I read a story today about your dad giving you an autographed photo of Willie-O'Ree when you were growing up. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that meant to you growing up as a hockey player?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with my background and my dad being Black, Willie-O'Ree, it's Black History Month, so there's obviously a lot of attention to it, and Willie-O'Ree and everything that he's done, and my dad being a sports guy was aware of him being the first Black player, and when he got that when he got the photo of Willie-O'Ree and got it signed, it was exciting because we were a hockey, my dad's a hockey guy. We're fans of the game. Obviously, everyone is probably, before they actually make it. So that was pretty cool to have something like that. And it was obviously a lot cooler to have an opportunity to meet Willie. I had opportunities to do charity work with Willie. And I remember calling my dad when I was asked to do it, how excited he was. And obviously, my grandpa, being alive at the time when I was playing, was pretty excited about it too. So, I'm glad that Willie's getting the accolades that he's getting as far as, getting his, going to be getting his jersey retired, getting into the Hall of Fame, because there's no one more deserving of it. That guy, he's been a great ambassador. Right. And he's just been a pleasure. When you're around that guy, he's such a gentle, nice guy, so generous with his time. And another cool story for me was we went down to Palm Springs, and I'd met a guy through Upper Deck. And so in California, there's one of the places where they make hockey cards. And so my son being a hockey fan, I thought, what, I'll call this guy and see if we can go down and check the, factory out and see how a card's made and get a tour. And it just so happened that Willie was there signing some cards for Upper Deck. And so the guy's like, yeah, you got to come down. Willie's down here. We'll get you opening up some boxes of cards, and we'll give be an opportunity for your son to meet him.
For sure.
So it was great. My daughter, my son, my wife, we went down there. My son got to meet him. He signed a hockey card for my son. My son got to talk to him. We just kind of told he told some old stories and talking hockey. So that was it was special, I think, for my dad, for me to meet him. But I think for me, it was just as special for my son to meet him too.
That's a really cool story, Sean. We appreciate you joining us here tonight. I know hopefully we can get you back here for the Labor Day ball game, but this was just a roundabout way to ask you if you wanted to play in the hockey team for Buxton. We're at to set up a family day. We just wanted to get a first rounder in the lineup somehow. So we'll figure out the details later. Get a hold of Jason Dudley. I think he'll get it set up. Sean, we appreciate your time, buddy. Appreciate it. Cool career, and need to check up on you and tie it back into Chatham, Kent. So thanks a lot, Sean. We appreciate it.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, buddy. Awesome. We'll have to get you some beers when you're down too. We'll have to hook up with some Sons of Kent.
I had that homecoming brew. That was outstanding. I would love to be able to get my hands on some of that. So when I get back there, I'll have to get some and bring it back.
Well, when you get back too, because just not too far from Buxton is a brand new Red Barn too, which is a good friend of the show too. So we'll have to get a little tour going on. So we'll have some fun. Thanks, Sean.
Okay, thank you.
Sean Rapp from Alberta is on the pod, or was on the pod. That's pretty cool stuff. We've never had a guest go get a phone cord in the middle of it, but that's.
Hey, you know what was awesome is everyone who talked to us about Sean was like, he's the nicest guy around, just a nice dude. And then I started looking at videos of his career, and he's just pummeling people. He's just fighting
people in the face.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, I'm just glad he didn't punch me in the face when I told him I didn't want him to take my spot on the Bucks team.
He said he didn't play baseball because he was afraid of the ball. And I'm like, we're afraid of the ball in slow pitch, dude. Jeez.
Oh man.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. You know what, Tim? I interviewed that guy. We were both probably 6. Well, I must have been there his last year.
Yeah.
Because I was 19 and he was probably 3 years in, and you know those kids know his know their stuff at that time. So he's a good dude, man, Sean Brown. So we'll hook him up with some beers when he gets down here. We'll have to do a little tour for sure. Timmer, we got some stuff to get to for the show before we wrap up. We need to talk about our prop pool, which is on our Facebook page. If you're streaming right now on the Facebook page, facebook.com/3beerpod. This weekend is Super Bowl football
Super
game.
Bowl, yeah, a little bit different this year, a little bit different feel. Not the big parties, but the game's gonna be good. Oh, it's gonna be a good game. I've been excited for a Super Bowl in a while. This is gonna be a good game. I'm excited.
Who do you got?
I like the Chiefs. I really do. I know you love Tom Brady, but
don't even. Don't even.
I'm taking the Chiefs, although from what I've seen, half their O-line is on like COVID reserve right now. And that's gonna be tough. But you know what? I got Mahomes all day. I love that guy. He's so good. That's what I'm thinking.
He's a good dude. Brady's pretty good too, but I hate him.
Yeah.
So we've got our prop pool, which is on our Facebook page right now, and you can register. Do it before kickoff on Sunday, and we'll put together a prize pack from some of our brewery friends. Okay, and whoever gets the most right in the prop pool will win a prize pack. Do we want to go over a couple of the props in there, Timmer, or do you want to?
Yeah, sure, buddy. You got a couple?
No, no, I don't. I thought you did.
I do. Just give me a second. Just kill some airtime. You dropped that one on me.
Go to Facebook. Go to our Facebook page. It was posted just after 7 o'clock. You can see the link there. What do you got, Tim?
I think one of my favorites that I just added was about the weekend's nipples, which I did not write that one, but
it's a possibility.
Right. There's some standard ones. Who's going to win the toss? Blah, blah, blah. Are you going to see the weekend's nipples?
It's a possibility.
I'll never forget the wardrobe malfunction. I was young Tim Regan watching that with my father-in-law to be, and then Janet Jackson's nipples came out.
That was
awkward.
Today might actually be the anniversary of that, or yesterday. It might have been the anniversary. All right, so go online, go to our Facebook page, and sign up, and we'll see who wins the prop pool. We'll tell you next week on the pod. Timmer, we got a Noofus Doofus this week on the pod.
All right.
And this is some classic news bloopers. Well, not even a blooper. This guy tried to keep it serious. This is Nick Dixon from CHCH. This is going back a bunch of years. Let's have a look at our Noofus Doofus of the week.
Welcome back. You know, the giant beaver may have become extinct some 13,000 years ago, but a pretty big beaver was spotted on Hamilton's waterfront today. Now, this furry rodent was seen walking across the ice in Bayfront Park this morning. Avid watchers tell us there are 20 living in Hamilton Harbor, but this burly beaver certainly made an impression.
Come on.
First, I didn't believe it was a beaver because of its size. It is probably 2 to 3 times bigger than any beaver I've seen before.
Well, beavers can weigh as much as 70 pounds. This one is
it's not over. There's more.
Long, and while he may look kind of cute, experts say you should never approach a wild beaver with his vacant hands.
Watch this. Watch this.
Oh, no.
Look at that. Can you believe it, that little guy?
Yeah, he's a cute little guy. It's going to be a wet beaver tomorrow, I'll tell you.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. So
he went there. He went there.
The next 5-day forecast.
Oh.
He went there. You're right, Corey. You're right. All right. Get out of here. Get out of here, guys. Thank you. It's your Noofus Doofus.
What was that broadcaster's name?
Nick Dixon. That was about 13 years ago this week that happened.
Come on, Nick Dixon. He kept it together longer than I would have.
Yeah.
While doing that. And then the weatherman, really? Come on.
He had to go there. Low blow. Come on. Tim, back in season 2 of the pod, we started the Weird Name Hall of Fame in honor of Dick Clapper.
Dick Clapper. Oh, boy.
We saw Dick and we said, we got to start something, okay? So our first class of inductees included Dick Felt.
Look at the head on that guy. That's Dick.
Yeah.
100%.
Also in that first class was Dick Paradise.
Yes.
Our
And
second class of inductees
Oh,
included Dick Shiner and Dick Sizzler. So those are the 5 members so far of the Weird Name Hall of Fame. Now, Tim, I've got some new possibilities. Okay, some strong possibilities.
I gotta take a drink first here.
No, this is the first one.
Come on. Come on, man. Pianist. Come on, man.
He's a possibility. Okay, so keep him in mind.
Why did they shorten him down? What is his first name?
Patrick, maybe.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure, or maybe his first name's Penis. Just maybe it's Peter.
Peter.
Possibly. Okay, so you have to tell us who goes in. Okay, you have to tell us who goes in. So Pianist is the first one, or Enos, whatever you want. Is it Gary Doodlesack, who's also an option?
He's a Commodore.
Yeah, Gary Doodlesack. I'm surprised, Timmer, we haven't had this guy.
Oh,
Dick
classic.
Pound. Why haven't we had Dick Pound yet?
Classic. IOC member, Olympic Committee, drug guy, Dick Pound.
Yeah. Okay, so those are 3. And now, Tim, I got this guy right here. Well, there's 2 more guys, okay? So this guy is
Dick
named
Pound solid.
former Detroit Tigers, Champ Summers. What a name.
What a badass name that is.
So I did a deep dive. I'm like, who the F is Champ Summers? Champ Summers is legendary. Look at this background. He was signed by the Oakland A's as an amateur free agent in 1971 after being discovered in a men's softball league.
There's still a chance?
There is a chance.
Come on. That's why those guys play so hard in summer slow pitch, because they've heard the story of Champ Summers.
Champ Summers is a possibility in the Weird Name Hall of Fame. He's got to be up there.
It's a badass name. That's a badass name.
So we got a bunch of nominees, Tim. There's one more. One more for the third class of inductees in the Weird Name Hall of Fame. This guy who had a hell of a week, scoring 4 goals in one game.
Come on.
That's the guy. Jizz Hornkamp.
Why is it that? Why is that his picture?
That's him celebrating. That's how Jizz celebrates, right there. That's how he does it. That's Jizz. Man. So again, Jizz Hornkamp up for induction. Is it Champ Summer? Is it Gary Doodlesack? Is it Dick Pound? Or is it P. Enos who gets in the next round of the Weird Name Hall of Fame?
I kind of like Gary Doodlesack just because it's kind of. I wish his name wasn't Gary. I love the last name Doodlesack.
Yeah, I love the story behind Champ Summer too.
Champ Summers. I think we started a different Hall of Fame just for Champ Summers. The guy went from slow pitch after Vietnam. Was he in the Vietnam War, or is that just after the Vietnam War? Like he was in the Vietnam War.
He served his service in Vietnam.
Wow. Yeah. That's impressive. He came back after serving his country, crushed it in Champ Summers. I got nothing, man.
Champ Summers is a front runner. And we'll find out next week. Okay, we'll find out next week. Timmer, we're running up against time here. You want to get to that final piece we had, or you want to save that for next week?
I don't even know what the final piece is, buddy. So your call.
Let's save it. Let's save it for next week, okay?
It's a cliffhanger for the audience and for me, too.
It's a timeless classic, all right?
All right, save it.
Big thanks to Sean Brown tonight. Awesome dude. And
that's great.
Looking forward to hooking up with him sometime for a beer and getting to chat with him. Get over to Sons of Kent this year. They're our sponsor here on the pod. Don't forget to grab this book right here, The Hard Road to Victory, the Chatham All-Star story.
Check out this beer here. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So you get that beer.
Whoop.
It's right there.
Good one.
Delicious. So that is available Thursday at noon when Sons of Kent opens, sonsofkent.com. Thanks for being a sponsor here tonight on the 3BeerPod. Thanks to Shauna over at the Health House. As always, thehealthhouseck.ca. You can look them up online. Give me a call if you're looking to buy or sell, and we'll get you connected. We'll get that ball rolling. And if you're looking for some fabulous cricket, there's only one place you go when you need to cricket: the Pakistan
Super League. 100%, buddy. That was good, dude.
That was a lot of fun. Get your picks in for the prop pool, which is on our Facebook right now at I almost gave away the radio station.
Don't
They
go
want-
there.
They want nothing to do with this one. Go online to our 3BeerPod site. Timmer, until next week. Cheers, buddy.
6.